I am in incredible pain.
Her life is pain, and we gotta scrape the joy out of it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Alexandra Little, and Jared is one of my most treasured friends. I will be guiding you through the program like Gandalf, guiding the fellowship, even though I'm a bit more hobbit-sized than wizard. We'll start with some housekeeping. So please help yourself to drinks, ice cream, and cupcakes throughout the program. If you have dietary restrictions, your treats are in the kitchen. Gluten-free and vegan cupcakes are on the counter, and dairy-free ice cream treats are in the freezer. Please help yourself. During tonight's program, you'll be addressed by Jared and his closest friends, and you'll have the pleasure of hearing some beautiful musical performances. We encourage you to clap, laugh, cheer, and cry as you feel comfortable. Woo! This is an emotional time for all of us, and that's okay. Please feel comfortable to cry. Use the provided tissues. If you need to step outside for a little break, that's fine, and ask for support. Jared has invited you today to see, to talk to, and to hug all of you. He wants to express gratitude to all of you as well. And he wants to assist all of you in processing his upcoming death. First, we'll hear from Jared himself. After Jared's speech, there will be a musical number by 3 of the Litchfield siblings, Cam, Dave, and Leisl. For those who don't know, Jared is pretty much raised as one of the Litchfields, spending about as much time at their house as his own. I'll now pass the mic over to Jared.
Hi everyone. It's packed house in here. When we booked this, we knew it was on the smaller side of the space we needed, and then, inevitably more people are able to make it than expected, which I think is incredible. So thank you all for being here. It actually feels like the perfect size space to me. I really do mean that, like an individual thank you to each and every one of you, as well as a special thank you to the people that have traveled extra far. Alex and Stuart, Ari, Marcus, Jordan and Ashley, John, Matt, Lindsay, Scott, all of you traveled from out of province, and I really appreciate the sacrifice to be here. Some of you traveled overseas, and I just think that that's incredible that I have your support. During our time tonight, I'll speak to you all twice, once now and again at the end. When I speak later, I'm going to focus on some of the positive messages that, takeaways, life lessons that I've learned. But right now, to start, I'm going to do my best to briefly explain how I got here and now in this place and time and space and love. While I strongly believe in and value authenticity, I do live a lot of my life in hiding. I hide a lot of who I am from the world and from all of you. And I'll do my best tonight to let you all in kind of fully, just who I am. I'm not a strong writer, nor a strong speaker, but I'm going to do my best to share what I feel just deep in my soul. I'm simultaneously worried about just being a huge bummer and underselling the severity of my situation. My biggest ask of all of you is that you trust me, that you trust that I'm making the right decision. Choosing Jade is a well thought out decision involving multiple decades of personal information gathering, consultation with a lot of medical experts, and it includes consideration of all possible other outcomes. I believe that my entire life has led down this path to make this decision here and now. Whether you're someone who believes in God or someone who doesn't, either way, I feel like my entire life has led to making this decision. I am sick, and in some ways I think I always have been. Some of my earliest memories are waking up in the middle of the night in extreme pain for no obvious reason. At 18, my condition became chronic and pervasive and one that kind of took control over every aspect of my life and has ruled over my life ever since. There's a lot of stigma and misinformation around migraine. Simple explanation is that it's a complex, debilitating, and degenerative neurological disease. There's no cure, and the medical community doesn't have a firm grasp on what the causes are and really what's happening in the brain. Some doctors point towards it being a problem with blood flow in the brain, others to fluctuation in cerebral membranes. It is not an acute condition that flares up here and there. It's a neurological disease that I was born with and that has progressed every year that I've been alive. No doctor, neurologist, or alternative medicine practitioner have ever been able to get my condition to even trend in the direction of improvement. We're talking 19 plus years of trying everything imaginable and nothing even helping a little bit. I'm a fighter. It seems like fighting is what I was born to do. As I already mentioned, I started my fight against my demon at 4 or 5 years old, maybe earlier, and I just don't remember. Starting at age 8, I woke up early before school to help my father deliver newspapers, to put food on the table. I fought to become successful in athletics. I fought to become a provincial champion wrestler. I felt like I was fighting when I played football and rugby. At 18, during my first semester of university, I was overworking my body and my mind. One day, something broke. Something in my brain changed, and I've had a headache ever since. I limped through the rest of the semester and then dropped out. I decided to put my full effort into trying to improve my health. I decided to try and fight for my health and my future. When I was 20, there was a period of 3 or 4 months where I was completely bedridden. I still don't really know what changed to lead to that, but all of a sudden my chronic pain progressed to a new intensity and I wasn't prepared to deal with it. And I decided to stay and fight. The first time I had a neurologist tell me that they were out of treatment options for me, I was 23, and I decided to stay and fight. Now I'm 37 and chosen to stay and fight for 2 decades, and I've survived a lot longer than I ever thought possible. As I near the end, I fight every day to pick myself up and just simply get out of bed. Sometimes I faint, sometimes I vomit, but I keep pushing, I keep fighting. I've simply pushed my body and my brain further than I probably should have. Let's do a little exercise together. Let's imagine that you have like a metal device that looks a little bit like a helmet. It's got a crank on it. Place it on your head and it contacts your eyes and your temples and latches onto the base of your skull. And then someone that you can't see comes in and cranks it, and it gets tighter. It gets tighter until there's shooting pains in your eyes, and it wraps around to the back of your head. Just to make sure you're extra uncomfortable, it's cranked one more time. You quickly find that the throbbing and stabbing pain disrupts your ability to think. After some time passes and you feel like you're a little bit more used to it, and you feel like you're ready to move forward with your new life with this device on your head, someone comes and cranks it a little bit tighter, and all of a sudden the pain is fresh and you feel unprepared for it. It brings you to your knees. You're at the point now where you feel irritated just all of the time, but you think to yourself, this is as bad as it can be, it can't possibly be any more painful, and I can live with that. And then someone comes and cranks it a little bit tighter. You think your head's going to explode, and if you're quite certain that you're going to die, but you find yourself disappointed that death never comes. There's no escape from it, not for a single moment. Sometimes you manage to fall asleep, but when you wake up, you don't feel rested. Somehow the pain's worse when you wake up than when you went to sleep. There's no amount of desperation to pull the device off. No amount of desperation can successfully remove it. So what do you do? How long can you live with this device, and when is it going to crank a little bit tighter? We can stop there and end the exercise. I've had a lot of different mindsets over the years, but wishing other people had to endure the same pain as me has never been one of them. I know I just spent several minutes on a metaphor, but we're going to switch to a different one. The conditions I live in often feel like a deep, dark, rocky cave or pit. The deeper I fall into the pit, the less optimism I have that escaping is ever possible. Optimism, belief in miracles, hope, all these things are necessary for people to have purpose and people to have the drive to survive. But there's a sad truth about my life, one that those things can't overcome, and it's the reality that whenever I think my health can't get any worse, I'm always wrong. What I perceive as the rock bottom in my pit, it's just an illusion, it's just a ledge. It's always possible to fall deeper into the pit. Some people think that I'm giving up, and if they were me, they would simply continue pushing themselves through life. Those people just simply haven't fallen into my pit. They have no idea what it's like. They have no idea how dark, unbearable, and pervasive it is. I sincerely believe that most people wouldn't last 1 month down in my pit. To try and transition to something maybe a little bit more hopeful, I just want to talk about Jade. She's just the most incredible person, the best partner. Somehow she manages to rappel down into my pit and provide me with support. She's able to visit me and observe the conditions, but not get stuck down there with me. Jade and I have tried everything possible to get me out of the pit, and while we weren't successful, the process of trying has extended my life as long as possible. And I just think that Jade deserves a major award. Turn the time over to the Leisl siblings, and I promise when I get back up here that I'll have a more pleasant attitude.
Thank you, Cam, Dave, and Leisl for that amazing song. Next, we'll hear speeches from Jared's adrenaline-fueled partner in crimes, Spencer Girl. And then after that, Jeffrey Miller. Spence, you're up. Woo!
Jared actually asked me what superlative he would like as an introduction, and so that's what I came up with. I don't know. It was a long time ago, I think. I'm a different person now. Try to get closer to this so I can read. When I found out that I was going to be speaking first as Jared's group of friends, I thought, I'm first, I must be his favorite. But for those of you who are part of the LDS church, you would know that when you speak first, it means you're the youth speaker. And that's just as fitting as being Jared's best friend. That's great. I'm okay with that. So before I get into it, I thought I'd give a little bit of financial advice real quick. I'm going to be selling my Microsoft stock now that they're actually going to be losing their #1 Excel spreadsheet user. As a kid, I always thought Jared is going to be a freak in the sheets. I was thinking of a different name, not the spreadsheets. So if you know Jared well, you know he has a spreadsheet for everything. He has spreadsheets to keep track of his spreadsheets, and I mean it's hilarious how much, like for no reason it seems he'll just write up a spreadsheet. Now I'm sure a lot of people in this room have played Jared's question game at some point. What you do is it's pretty simple. You just take turns. It's usually in a group setting. You take turns asking questions to the group or to a single individual or certain groups of individuals in that group. And you just take turns asking these questions and giving the answers. And I've played countless hours of the question game with Jared, answering questions that range from the hypothetical to deep soul-searching questions. And now, in Jared-like fashion, he leaves us with some very introspective questions like, why? Why did this have to happen to him? What did I miss? What more could I have done? I was really hoping this day would never come. Are there? I can't see now. Stop. But it's a good day. It's a good day. It's a day to honor an exceptional man and my best friend. Jared really is an amazing friend. There's a reason why the people here speaking tonight all call him their best friend. He really is that. He is the best friend out there. He's loyal, considerate, he's fun, he's responsible, he's unselfish. So Jared, I know you gave Jade an award. So as a representative of your panel of friends, I can confidently say that it is a unanimous decision that we offer you the award for most liked by our group of friends. At the beginning of grade 10, my family moved and I had to go to a high school I didn't expect I was going to go to. I had to go to Harry Ainley, and I didn't want to. I was not looking forward to it. I was going to be a basketball star at J. Percy Page. And I felt out of place and alone a lot. I knew hardly anybody at school. Jared reached out to me and befriended me. In our early morning seminary class, we actually sat at the same table. And he would often poke me while I was half asleep.
Gross.
So he would poke me. I'd be half asleep, hardly paying attention to the lesson, really just trying to stay awake. And he'd lean over, he'd poke me, and it would usually just to do something like show me a little drawing he had made or was working on. It feels like winter lasts forever here. So if I was in the winter, and when it's winter time, Jared always had snowboarding on his mind, and so he would always poke me and show me a little doodle of a little snowboarder going off a jump or dropping off a cliff. And another award for you, Master Doodler. So he was always drawing pictures of whatever situation we were in or what we were thinking about. He was drawing pictures. Yeah. I always loved that. It probably didn't. It seemed like nothing to Jared. Poking me, hardly knew me, and just to show me a little drawing he was working on, or he drew. And I know it was nothing to him, but it meant everything to me. I didn't feel like I had a lot of friends that I was close with. I lost them all when I moved. He invited me to be his friend, and I am glad I responded in like. I really feel like he saved me. High school and the rest of my life would have gone in a much different direction without Jared. Although we had some crazy experiences together, his responsible nature and caring attitude, it always shined through. One day we were playing football, and I rolled my ankle pretty bad. I was out, for at least a couple weeks of really walking well and running. The next day, Jared showed up at my house unannounced with some snacks and a DVD for me. He cared about me. He wanted to make sure that I had something to do and that I was happy. Jared always took time to think about his friends and check up on them. That's just one of the many experiences I have where I felt so loved by Jared. I was actually lucky, or I am lucky, to have been able to spend a lot more time with Jared in the last 2 to 3 years than I have leading up to that time. We went on a few trips together. It was almost like we were in high school again, where we just joked and laughed, and it felt like we had no cares in the world. It made me truly happy to see Jared experience joy through his pain, seeing Jared's health decline, and his frustration increase has been truly heartbreaking. Jared mentioned it. He's persisted over the last 2 decades to find a solution to his chronic pain. And he was so good at hiding or masking his pain when he was around his friends. I even sometimes thought his health was improving, or that it at least wasn't taking over his life. He didn't want to complain or be a downer when he was with his friends. He never wanted to put that on us. He wanted to bring us up so that we could have a good time together. He always kept his discomfort to himself. He was so good at it. Jared is so resilient. When he had to stop working 2 years ago due to his health, it was a bit of a wake-up call for me. I wanted to make spending time with him a greater priority, and I can proudly say the last 2 or 3 years have really been the best time spent with him. Through his own discomfort and pain, he was still an exceptional person, a reliable friend, and a dedicated example to me and everyone. I want everyone to know how proud of Jared I am. He accomplished so much in his life despite his pain. The odds were against him, and he excelled. He made so much more of his life than could be expected. I can't blame him for making the decision to stop after years of persistence. He made it further and lasted longer than I would have. I have a high respect for Jared's character. He is not easily broken. It's going to be hard to move forward, unaffected by a lifetime of friendship with Jared. Although I do feel filled with good memories of time well spent together. As in the movie Inside Out, my fond and joyful memories will now be mixed with sadness as I remember what was. That makes me more complete. And I'm inspired to be a better father, husband, and friend because of Jared. Jared, you've done it. You've completed what was asked of you. I love you.
Be preemptive about these this time. It's a great honor to be speaking here today. To be part of friendship so special. For a person so special that I can be chosen to do this is a great honor. Much of what I'm going to say is going to be an echo of Spencer because of how obviously great Jared is. But as I was preparing and thinking about this, there's also some nerves, of course, that come with this. Is it long enough? Is it short enough? Is it meaningful enough? However, Jared didn't give much direction to us on what to speak on. I quickly decided I wanted to speak on the topic of Jared's character and all his good qualities that he has, who he is as a person, and the things that I admire about him. Once I decided that, my nerves quickly faded because I knew that filling 7 or 8 minutes of the good things about Jared would be the easiest thing I could ever do. In fact, the challenge has limited it to only 7 or 8 minutes. I've known Jared since I was about 6 or 7 years old. Friends since elementary school. I barely have a memory in my life where he's not a part of it. Over this time, I've seen him grow and learn and change over 3 decades. From the earliest ages that I can remember, Jared has always been enthusiastic and fun-loving. You can count on him to be the first one to crack a joke at any event. And that event was most likely planned by him, with a spreadsheet. Most of my summer vacation days during school, and countless days and evenings since, have been spent with Jared. He's always the one to come up with a new game or throw a new twist into a classic. When we were being ridiculous and silly, he'd always be the one to take it up to even the next ridiculous and silly moment. He has an adventurous spirit, and he likes to push the boundaries just a little bit further. Whether it's snowboarding or cycling or cliff jumping, or even just a card game, he's always the one to take it up just one more notch, to make it just a little crazier than it was before, just a little more fun than it was before. A typical event for Jared might be when we would take snowboard trips annually. Some of my best memories. He'd always be the one to come up with something like everybody races down the hill, loser pays for dinner. Or some crazy idea like, I'll lay down with my snowboard in the air and you jump and try and grind it. Which miraculously only resulted in minor injuries. Jared is smart, he's hardworking, he's a loyal friend and husband, and he's wise. I've always counted on him for advice, and he's never disappointed with the best advice. He's an action-oriented person, and I've always admired that about him. If work needs to be done, he'll jump into it. If he has a creative idea, he'll try it. If there's an event that you've been talking about, he'll plan it. Some of that advice I was talking about he would give me would be frequently some version of, you've done the thinking, start the doing. Many of you have probably experienced one of his best qualities, one that Spencer did a great job talking about, and that's his ability to bring people together, to be inclusive, to make everyone feel welcome. He's mindful of the feelings of those around him and quick to make sure everyone feels welcome and involved. If someone looked alone at an event or someone in that group had not spoken for a little while, he'd go out of his way to make them involved. A small example, when I started dating my wife, a memory would be shared or an inside joke would come up, and he would always be the first to try and explain that and make sure she was included. It's just a small example of the type of acts of kindness that he would perform countless times over and over again. I really feel he's the embodiment of small acts of kindness. He's the reason that many of my oldest friendships are still friendships. His connection has been the glue that has kept so many of us close for so many years. As Spencer already mentioned, my life would look very different without him. Even in these last months, much of Jared's effort has not been about himself or what he wants, but about making time for others and what he can do for them. He's taken the time to make sure that those who needed time with him got it as best as he could do. He's done his best to explain himself and to make sure that people are comfortable if he can make them comfortable. In a recent conversation with Jared, Cam and I, Jared explained how he was trying to help out one of our mutual friends and that he cared for them very deeply. Cam said sort of a similar thing in that time, that this is the most Jared thing ever, to look after others in his final moments and not himself. Jared's response was, I just don't know how to not be like that. Above all, the quality that I most admire in Jared has been his resilience. The exact same word that Spencer used. It's the most fitting word I can think of. Now, even before his health challenges, Jared has been the toughest person that I know. Anyone here who's played rugby or wrestled against him knows that that is true. One of our most memorable days together came up during a road trip to California in 2009. The road trip was for fun, but at the time the Canadian dollar and the American dollar were very similar, and he decided it was a good idea and a good deal to buy a motorcycle down there and bring it back. So he bought a motorcycle in California, drove it all the way home. One of those days driving home, we encountered every bit of weather you can imagine. Rain, lightning, sleet, snow in May. What was supposed to be a 10-hour day turned into, I think, a 17-hour day. Jared drove that motorcycle for 15 hours of that day. After a battery died on him midway through, he went through every bit of bad weather you can imagine for a motorcycle, and I don't remember him complaining once. Beyond his physical toughness, he's always been mentally and emotionally strong as well. The more I've learned about his health and experiences, I'm amazed at his ability to show all of his best qualities despite his challenges. People often change from childhood into adulthood, and that's no exception for Jared, but what's never changed has been his effort to put forward his best self. I recently had a discussion with our mutual friend Nick Frost, who couldn't be here tonight but was here several weeks ago. He asked if I could incorporate a quick thought sort of on this subject. Nick's words about who Jared has become is, the final version of Jared Bateman is, above all, brave. He's confident. He can look at the world with clarity, even in a maelstrom, and know exactly who he is and where he needs to be. He is kind and not only considerate of the feelings of others, but feels compelled to suture the wounds he may feel he has created. He can, against all the insurmountable odds and all the catastrophic hands that life has dealt him, still see the good in himself, in the world, and perhaps most importantly, the people around him. Jared already mentioned in his discussion that at times he's felt a bit inauthentic, that he hasn't shown his true self, that he hasn't let people in on his pain. And while that in some ways is certainly true, I rarely disagree with Jared, but in this instance, I could not disagree more. In my eyes, that is the resilience that he's shown, that in every moment any one of us has spent with him over the last couple of decades, he's carried a tremendous and pervasive burden. And yet, what we have seen, what he has put tremendous effort into showing us, is the real Jared. The kind, enthusiastic, smart, witty, loyal, confident, and empathetic person that he really truly is. During that same visit with Nick several weeks ago, we acknowledged that the visit would be both emotional and enjoyable at different times. Although I've cried a lot lately, during that time that Nick visited, the statement was made, hopefully we laugh more than we cry. And although I've cried a lot lately, and will continue to cry for a long time, the laughter still outweighs the crying. It has for many years. And even in these last moments, he's tried to be that person for anyone, that you laugh more than you cry. And Jared, thank you for being the type of person that has shown that light can still shine through the darkness. Despite the cave that I know you've been in, that pit that you mentioned, the light that has come from that cave to us has been incredible. It has changed my life and many in this room. And thank you for being that for us. I love you very much.
We will now be blessed to watch a musical number by one of the most inspiring people I know, Jade, accompanied on the guitar by her longest friend, Anne Mazeral. After that performance, we will hear speeches from Riley Kendrick and then Cameron Litchfield. Over to Jade now.
Okay, while Anne tunes her guitar, I'll just give a little preamble. Obviously, this song is dedicated to Jared, but there's a few other people I wanted to shout out while I was up here. First, Alex. A few years ago, we were hanging out in her basement flat in Gravesend, England, trying to survive a 40-degree heat wave. And she was checking in and asking me how I was doing, and we were talking about Jared's health. And she asked what I was doing for me, and the list that I gave her was very short. And then she basically said, "Is there anything that you've wanted to do for yourself that you haven't done?" And I said I'd always wanted to take singing lessons, but I'd never done it. And so she encouraged me to do it. So I got home and I started taking singing lessons. And I also want to shout out my dear sister, friend Anne, who wouldn't let me do this alone tonight, because I have never done this before. I've never sang a solo before in any situation. And I also wanted to shout out my fellow Swifties in the room, who understood why it was such a big deal that we got this as a secret song when we saw her in London this summer. So. Now, without any further ado, we will present Long Live Jade's version. I said, remember this moment in the back of my mind. The time we stood with our hands entwined, dressed like it was 89. We were the king and the queen, despite all your pain. The night we danced like we knew our lives would never be the same. You held your head like a hero on a history book page. It was the end of a decade, but the start of an age. Long live the walls we crashed through, how the kingdom lights shine just for me and you. I was screaming, long live all the magic we made, and bring on all the Decembers. Always will be remembered. I said, remember this feeling. I passed the pictures around of all the years that we traveled around the world, ready for right now. We are the king and the queen, 28 countries crossed off our list. 4 continents conquered, and on each of them we kissed. And the cynics were outraged, screaming, this is absurd. Just for a moment, a pair of thieves in Disney teas got to rule. Just I'll stand by you forever. But if God forbid fate should step in and force us into a goodbye, if I have children someday, when they point to the pictures, I'll tell them your name. Tell them how our love was wild. Tell them how you hope they shine. Long live the walls we crashed through. I had the time of my life with you. Long, long live the walls we crashed through. How the kingdom lights shine just for me and you. I was screaming, long live all the magic we made, and bring on all the Decembers. I'm not afraid. Singing, Lord, live all the mountains we moved. I had the time of my life fighting dragons with you. And long, long live that look on your face, and bring on all the Decembers. Always, you will be remembered.
Well, I'll be honest. When I originally saw the program and knew that I was going to be going after Jade's performance, I was not entirely thrilled. Because how do you go after that? It was beyond beautiful, and I am beyond impressed.
beautiful.
I'm very impressed that she made it through, because I don't know how she could have. And I just want to say, before I dive in, talking about Jade has been so incredibly inspiring through this whole situation. The amount of strength and perseverance that she's had to show has been amazing, and I can honestly say that there's probably not another person out there that would be able to do all this, go through this entire situation with as much poise as she has. It's yeah, we all know this, but yeah, she's amazing. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Riley Kendrick, and compared to the other speakers, I've actually known Jade the shortest amount of time. I met him 11 years ago. I was recently married, and we immediately bonded over football and how bad our favorite teams were. And honestly, they still are very bad. It's honestly been the one constant in our relationship, how terrible our teams are. But at least we have each other when it comes to that, so there's that to be thankful for. So along with our wives, Jade and Joanne, we started a monthly food club, as we call it, where each month we'd get together and each of us would pick a restaurant, a different restaurant, and we'd go out and try it, and this is something that we did consistently over the last decade. Even when we lived at times in different cities, and we were in different stages of life, we had new kids or what have you, it was something that we always tried to prioritize and something that we were consistently able to do. So over the years, we've had lots of opportunities to have quality and meaningful time together. So Jade and I actually share a mutual love for the movie Friday Night Lights. The movie takes place, just a little background, in Odessa, Texas in the 1980s. And Odessa, it's a town that did well during the oil boom, but during the not so good times, it struggled. And the one constant that kind of kept things okay there was the success of the local high school football team. There, the players were kind of treated like A-list celebrities. They'd be recognized on the streets. Yeah, they would be asked to pose for pictures, autographs, all that stuff. But of course, with that stardom, there was the negative side that they were harshly criticized when they didn't win, and they had to have these expectations to be perfect and to essentially win. But despite these 16 and 17-year-old boys having all this pressure, they carried it with them and they did what they had to do. So as the movie goes on, the typical movie tropes of the boys struggling, but then they rally together and they win games and they make it all the way to the state final. And of course, expectations are high despite going in as the underdogs. And I don't feel bad for spoiling the movie at this point because it's been out for 20 years. And it's based on a book that came out in the 80s, so if you don't know the ending, then, it's not my fault, unfortunately. But despite being underdogs, they go into the final and they get this close to winning, but they lose. They lose the game. They did all they could to rally, and they lose on the final play of the game. And I know when it comes to sports movies, usually it's the good guys win in the end. They come across a miracle and that's enough. They're able to conquer it and they win and whatever else. But in this movie, it doesn't happen. They don't win, there's no miracle, and they go back home and they're devastated. The whole community is devastated because those expectations have been so high. Those teenagers who've had that weight on their shoulders for years go home and, again, are disappointed. I know what you're thinking, why is that one of your favorite movies? Because it's kind of depressing, and honestly, I get it. It is a little bit of a bummer. But besides the football scenes, which are very well done, by the way, I do find the movie very inspiring, compelling, and recently, very relatable to Jared's situation. Of course, the magnitude of the situation when you compare Jared to these teenage kids on this football team is different. It's very different. But I find the overall lesson that comes from it is very similar. Jared, like the boys in the movie, have to deal with a situation that is extremely unfair. The players have to carry the weight of the town on their shoulders and the expectations that come with that. And Jared has had to deal with severe chronic pain his entire life. Endless doctor's appointments, medications, and days where he couldn't, and honestly, days that he shouldn't do anything. All things that someone at such a young age shouldn't have to worry about, let alone go through. The players have the pressure and expectations to be a certain way, to be perfect, to win. And Jared's no different. Of course, I doubt Jared, tell me if I'm wrong, has had people come up to him on the street and be like, you better win or else. But still, that pressure and expectations of living have been with him his entire life, despite the pain. Whether that was to go to California on a mission for church, complete his post-secondary education, to start and maintain a successful career, or just being a responsible and functional adult. All things that, for the rest of us, are difficult, let's be honest. But for someone who's dealing with extreme pain, it becomes extremely difficult and nearly impossible. Something that Jared's had to deal with his entire life. And the last thing that I find relatable, and honestly the biggest thing I find relatable with this movie and Jared, is the ending. At the end of the day, the team doesn't win the state championship. They have those expectations, but they don't win. There are many people disappointed, but the players did all they could. They gave it their all, and in my opinion, could go home proud, without regret. In football terms, they left it all on the field. And I can confidently say that although Jared's story is ending very differently than he or any of one of us envisioned or expected it would, he has done all he could. I know there are people out there disappointed or confused by his choice, but he truly has given it all he has. He will be leaving it all on the field. From the countless doctor's appointments, drugs, medications, and procedures, from an awful 6-week stint in the hospital, from constantly feeling lost and hopeless and broken, all the while being an incredibly kind, thoughtful, and compassionate person. He has lived a full life. A life that he can be proud of. A life without regret. A life that each one of us can be grateful to have been a part of. A life that I'll never forget. In closing, Jared, you are loved more than you'll ever know. You'll be missed more than you'll ever realize. I love you. And I'll forever be grateful for our friendship. Thanks.
As you prepare to speak for something like this, you reflect on all these amazing experiences, and they are all really personal. And my favorite thing of tonight is realizing that Jared's awesomeness wasn't just limited to me. I knew that before, but now I really know it. And I'm so glad it wasn't just limited to me, because I know the kind of person that Jared is, and I'm so grateful that so many people do. If you take a look around this room right now, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 people-ish. This barely scratches the surface of the people that were positively impacted by Jared being here. There's been a lot of Litchfields tonight, not even all of those Litchfields were here, that have been positively impacted by Jared. Because he has been an honorary Litchfield since we met. I want to say one more thing. Over the years, as Jared reminded me on Monday, I learned as a child and a teenager that when you had money, you spent it right away. And Jared was the opposite. When you have money, you save it. And I know that Jared has learned lessons from our friendship in this regard. But I have learned a lot more, I feel like. And it's not how you think. It's that Jared used his money to help someone whose parents didn't really buy him new shoes or new coats. And he would buy me brand new shoes. And a new winter coat. But Jared, as important as that wasn't the best gift you gave me. The best gift you gave me was my sister Jade. Now you're an honorary Litchfield too, Jade. Part of that comes with my girls attacking you. Sorry about that. I hate that I have to speak after Jade's saying. Because I have been privileged, as a few people have in this room. I call it a privilege because I actually have seen Jared's real struggle, a lot of real times in his life. I have witnessed Jade rebel into his pit. So, as Riley said, if there's anybody who rivals Jared's awesomeness and resilience, it's Jade. In the summer of 1995, my family moved into a new ward in the city for a reason that very few people in this room know, including Jared and Jade. I grew up on the West End, and I was now forced to make all new friends at church. I was terrified my first Sunday. I walked into primary and looked for a spot to sit. A boy moved over and pointed to the seat next to him. I still have this memory vividly imprinted in my brain. Relieved at this kind gesture, my fears dissipated immediately, and I sat down, and that boy became my best friend. His name was Jared Bateman. It's not surprising that my co-speakers have shared similar details about how amazingly inviting and inclusive Jared is, because that's just who he is. And like he said, and I 100% agree, and anyone who knows him will agree, that is, he just doesn't know how to be any other way. That moment would lead to 29 years of unforgettable friendship, filled with countless memories. My brotherhood with Jared forever changed my life. And I echo the words of my friends and my family that we are proud of you. You fought a fight you didn't deserve to have to fight. And you did amazing. And you should feel no guilt whatsoever. And just know we are so proud of what you've been able to accomplish in your life, both with your health and with your life. Many of you know that I was a break dancer. In fact, there's another break dancer in this room that I'm happy to see here. But very few, and in fact, I don't know if anybody here knows besides him, will know that it was Jared who inspired me to start. When we were getting ready for our grade 9 graduation, he thought it would be cool to do, if I were to do a backflip off his hands in a circle. And he was right. After that, I felt igniting my passion for dancing. And I owe that all to Jared. And I owe a lot of things to Jared. I did wrestling with Jared. I did rugby with Jared. I played countless hours of Super Smash with Jared. Because I wanted to do what Jared was doing. Jared has always been a crucial cog in our friendship group, so much so that when he prepared to go on a mission, and we knew that he was leaving first, Jeff, a friend of Nick, and Nick and I made a mission farewell video for him full of inside jokes and well wishes. We didn't do this for anybody else, and no one else did it for us. But we loved Jared. We couldn't help but do something to say goodbye. And it's not a surprise that none of us in this room can help but be here with Jared as we say goodbye and as we cherish our moments with him. We loved him then and we loved him still. And after I returned home from my mission to a very broken home, Jared was at the airport pushing my brother out of the way as he and my brother fought to be the first ones home. I actually don't remember who won that fight. Then 1 month later, I lost my mother, who was one of the mothers for Jared too. In my devastation and grief, and feeling paralyzed, I called the one person I needed the most. At 5:30 in the morning, he came over and grieved with me. My mom really loves you, and you know that. But if he ever thought he wasn't going to be a Litchfield after that, he was super wrong. He got me through those first few hours while she still lay on the floor. He shared my trauma even though he didn't have to. Because that's who he is. And he shared with me over 16 years as I grieved her loss. Because Jared is unflinchingly loving and supportive, and an anchor to myself and everyone in this room. And as life moved forward, he countlessly provided strength and counsel at important times of my life, in addition to helping me and my siblings move, or helping me try to fix my condo to sell it, which I did. He would give whatever hours he could for me. He was always a friend I could count on, and he would even babysit Bryn so I could study for my nursing license exam. Last year when my dad died, he and Jade provided comfort, laughs,
understanding ears, and Jade's amazing brand of the most Hufflepuffness you could ever And they were, again, the only reason I could get through that was that from my wife, from all of the things that came from it, and after, as we learned further and further news. They were exactly what we needed for my family and I to navigate the complicated nature of the situation. And they babysat my kids instead of going to the funeral so that I didn't have to have my kids there. So I could Irish exit out of there and come back to their house where I was safe, and Jared helped me clean out my dad's apartment as well. Jared's been an essential source of strength during the hardest parts of my life, but has also been a key part of so many memories from my childhood. Jared and I had had this discussion about Batman versus Superman for many years. I think he's a little biased because his name has Batman in it. But one of my favorite quotes from Batman is he says, "I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be." And it's as though Jared said, "I'm whatever Cam needs me to be." So thank you for being who I needed you to be. Now, as I'm facing the prospect of losing my brother Jared, and as we in this room, countless more not, stand at the inevitable crossroads of death and loss, I grieve again. Queen Elizabeth II once said that grief is the price that we pay for loss. A vision from WandaVision said, I thought you'd appreciate that. Said, what is grief if not love persevering? Grief is what happens when we love. It is not a terrible thing, as Gandalf said. I will not say, do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. It can be painful at times, and it will be. And many of us might ask ourselves, as Ebenezer Scrooge said, how can we endure it? And to this I respond with what Captain America said. Together. Everyone in this room was brought together because of Jared. And where everyone in this room is going to need each other. We will all need each other as we mourn. We will all need to be like Jared. Non-judgmental. Loving and supportive no matter what's going on in our own lives. And as we continue to follow his example, we'll carry him with us. And obviously I quoted a lot of movies here, which I'm assuming Jared expected and hopefully appreciates. Because I told him I'd speak like I normally speak, which is in movie quotes. I do want to end with one more quote. From Kermit the Frog. I changed this a little bit, like Jade changed the song. It's all right, children. Life is made up of meetings and partings. That is the way of it. I'm sure that we shall never forget Jared leaving, or this first parting that there ever was among us. Thank you for being Jared. I love you.
Those were some touching speeches and an amazing song by Jade. We're entering the final stretch of the program. Next up, we'll get a musical number by Jill Curl and Anne Mazerall. After that, we'll hear the closing speech from Jared. Let's give it up for Jill and Anne.
Into our lives for bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes a sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made from what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes us by a wind off the sea, like a stream that meets a seed dropped by a bird in the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
I'll try and keep it short. It's been an emotional night and I have to pee, so I have to talk too much. Just huge thank you to everyone. Anne and Jill, I've seen Wicked in London and twice in Edmonton, and the two of you are way better than any of those performances. Jade, obviously, your number was amazing, and she kept it a secret from me, kind of, and it was amazing. Thank you. Litchfields, that's par for the course. Perfection. When Spencer spoke, I was just like, well, sucks for those other guys, that was the best one. And then whoever was speaking at the time, that just felt like the best one. And so thank you all. It's obviously not a competition, but they were all perfect. Big thanks to Matt in the AV booth. Matt Allred. You should do this professionally. Leave accounting behind you. Big thanks to different Matt Olson, who's been my emotional support pet all day. He traveled up from Utah and has just been driving me around and taking care of me. Huge thanks to Leisl Allred, who did all of the setup and most of the planning. I just rolled up at 6:45. I wasn't involved in setup. I didn't see it. I just knew that I would just show up and everything would be ready. And Leisha, I know you didn't do it alone, so thank you everyone else that helped Leisha with that. Thank you all for being here. This is like a top, at least 50 night for me. No, yeah, top 2. Yeah, you'll see some of the people involved with the event wearing pins. There's 3 of them. They're these circular designs on the screen behind me, and I'm gonna talk about those a little bit. They're designed by a Matt. He's not here. This one's last name's Binen. He was unable to make the trip from New England, but I still appreciate his design. These pins are just little tidbits that represent me, their advice, their beliefs I hold dear, so I'm gonna talk about each of them. First one's fight for kindness. By nature, I'm an ambitious person. I expect too much of myself and too much of others. It leads to me feeling like I'm too much for some people sometimes. Like anyone else, I had plenty of aspirations in life, and some of those I was able to fulfill, and some I wasn't. And one of my biggest aspirations is that I become the kind of person that helps people. It feels quite ironic that I can't help myself, despite being really committed to trying to help others. Because of who I am, I can't help but be really observant of other people, really aware of their emotional state, if they're sitting alone. The longer I've had to endure pain, the more empathetic I've become as a person. And in general, I feel like the lack of people caring about other people is the biggest problem that society's dealing with. I don't know how to convince others how to care about other people, especially people that may look, sound, or seem quite different from them, but I'll continue to fight for kindness until my dying breath, and hopefully I leave an aspiration for fighting for kindness behind. Despite what I've communicated tonight, I really don't hold many regrets in life. Most of the regrets I do have are small times where I wasn't as kind or compassionate or as inclusive as I would have liked. And just to be clear, I don't think that being kind means that you allow others to take advantage of you or other people for that matter. You can be polite and kind while establishing healthy boundaries and protecting yourself and loved ones. I encourage you to surround yourself with people who protect your heart, protect your soul, and I encourage you to do that for others. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the love and support you've given me. Fight for kindness. And the second one is the pin I'm wearing, Ride Forever. In my mid-20s, when I started my career in marketing, I changed how I dressed and how I groomed and how I acted because I wanted to fit in a corporate environment, and I look back at that time with like a decent amount of cringe.
I hated how I tried to conform to something that I didn't really like and honestly didn't really serve me in my career even. But over time I found the value in just being my authentic self, and it helped me personally and professionally. I've been at my happiest and most content when I haven't cared what other people think about me and I've just been myself. I have a lot of hobbies and interests. It's definitely an ADHD thing where I just pick up hobbies willy-nilly, and I'm just not afraid to try or experience new things. I'm not afraid to go through the learning process. I tend to find people interesting that are passionate about something. It doesn't have to be a common interest. I'm just attracted to people that know what they're interested in and go for it. It just feels authentic, and I can relate to that. You're probably like, nah, nothing you're talking about relates to this ride forever, so I'll get to that. A few of my favorite interests are snowboarding, skateboarding, and motorcycle riding, and ride is, a term used in all those hobbies. For me, it signifies freedom and expression and creativity that you experience when you're riding. I like the word forever because sometimes people feel like they're too old to do something, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't think anyone's, too old to skateboard or play Pokemon or something like that. I guess I encourage all of you to pursue your passions, and if you're at a point where you're like, I'm not sure what that is, then just do some exploring and figure that out. I just feel like there's enough room in life for family and job and whatever responsibilities you feel like you have, and hobbies and interests. And yeah, at certain times you're gonna have less time, and that's okay, but at some time you'll have more time. I communicate that terribly, but whatever. Yeah, ride forever. The last one is the best one, and it's love never dies. While pondering my existence, my impact, my legacy, all of it's love. To me, meaningful relationships are my greatest accomplishment, my greatest treasure, and represent the best of me. In my time here, I've learned what brings me peace and happiness, and it's finding, building, and maintaining meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships must be respectful, reciprocal, safe, vulnerable, and include communicating about important things. You just can't avoid discussing what weighs on your soul and have that be a meaningful relationship. I won't be here physically much longer, but my love for all of you isn't going anywhere, and I don't think that death means the end of feeling someone's love. I think in some ways it can feel stronger. I have been lucky to experience more love in my 37 years than some people get to experience in a much longer life. And I believe that love has the power to transcend space and time. If you ever find yourself in a tough spot emotionally, and you find the scary part of your brain pushing questions like, does anyone even care about me? Does anyone love me? Would anyone miss me? Please tell yourself that though I might be gone, wherever I am, whatever I am, I love you. I care about you, and I miss you. And no one, not even the scary part of your brain, can refute that, because I'm saying it right now in front of 90 witnesses. I love you just the way you are. And my love for you will never die. Thank you all for coming. That's the end of my speech. I really hope that what I tried to communicate got through and was felt. I love you all, and yeah, take it sleazy.
What an incredible and touching evening. Thank you all for attending, being present, and sharing this time together. Last call for ice cream is 10:30 p.m. and please go stuff your face with cupcakes, Matilda style. There's plenty for everyone. We'll need to start taking down just before 11 p.m., but feel free to hang out and have a good time until then. If anyone needs to leave earlier than that is completely fine. Be sure, though, to grab your giveaway envelope on the way out. Being your MC tonight has been an honor and a gift. Woo! Thank you very much. Please, everyone, have a great rest of the evening and get home safe.